I never expected a millionaire to walk into the orphanage. Then a little girl shouted, "Dad." I will never forget the day everything fell apart. It was like a scene straight out of a movie, something you never see coming. The sun hung high over the orphanage that day, casting long shadows over the cracked pavement. Inside, the air was thick with tension. I could feel it creeping in, tugging at my heart like a cold hand. I was a volunteer, trying to bring some light to the lives of those children. I spent my time with them, coloring, playing games, anything to keep their spirits up. But on that particular afternoon, things were different. Whispers filled the room, a strange hum of excitement and confusion. I glanced to the door. That's when he walked in. Tall, dressed in a tailored suit that screamed of expensive taste. His shoes shone brighter than the sun outside. I thought for a moment he was lost, but the glint in his eye said otherwise. I stood frozen, my heart racing. Who would come to an orphanage dressed like that? As if reading my thoughts, a small voice broke the silence. It was Lily. She was just 6, with wild curls and a smile that could light up the darkest room. Her face transformed in an instant. "Daddy," she shouted, her voice ringing clear and piercing, echoing through the halls like a siren. Everyone turned, surprise etched on each face. The millionaire's face shifted. Confusion swept over him. His brows furrowed, mouth slightly ajar. It felt like time froze. The air thickened, every heartbeat hanging in the balance. I glanced around. The other kids were wide-eyed, mouths agape. I could almost hear their thoughts. What was happening? The man took a step toward Lily, his expression a mix of shock and disbelief. Did he even know her? A lump formed in my throat. This was unusual. Different. Layers of emotions filled the room. Who was he to her? Why had he come? The silence stretched, heavy as a weighted blanket. I held my breath, waiting for answers. Then, the whispers resumed. "Who is he?" someone asked, eyes darting from the man to Lily and back. "What does she mean, Daddy?" The questions flew, filling the air with curiosity, uncertainty, and fear. It felt like we were all part of a secret about to unravel. Just as Lily opened her mouth to explain, the front door swung wide open again. A gust of wind rushed in, bringing a chill that swept through the orphanage. We all turned, startled. Another figure stepped into the threshold, this one with a worried expression. I recognized her. She was the director of the orphanage. The tension thickened. Was she prepared for this? What did it all mean? Questions flooded my mind. Why did Lily shout for him? What was this sudden twist? Everyone was watching, the weight of anticipation hanging over us. But before I could grasp the unfolding drama, the millionaire's gaze shifted from Lily to the director, seeking answers in the chaos. Just as I was about to reach out and pull Lily away, hoping to shield her from whatever was about to explode, I heard a murmur beneath the buzzing noise. They told me he wouldn't come. A whisper slipped past my lips. What did it all mean? What were the secrets hidden within the walls of this place? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The chaos in the orphanage deepened as the atmosphere thickened with questions and unresolved tension. The millionaire, still taken aback by Lily's outburst, struggled to mask his bewilderment. I could see the flicker of recognition flash across his face like a wave crashing on the shore, only to retreat just as quickly. He knelt down, his perfectly polished shoes now at eye level with Lily, who stared up at him with wide, hopeful eyes, the kind that could perhaps melt even the hardest heart. "Lily?" he managed, his voice barely above a whisper, as if the name itself held untold significance. The director, her face pale and tight with anxiety, moved closer. "Mr. Carson," she spoke, that professional composure of hers faltering, "may I introduce you to Lily?" But the question hung in the air unanswered, laden with implications. "Tu didn't know," he stammered, and for a brief moment, it felt as if the entire world inhaled sharply, waiting for whatever revelation loomed on the horizon. Tears formed in Lily's eyes, and the flicker of hope in the room dimmed, giving way to uncertainty. "I thought you forgot me," she said, her tiny voice cracking, a tremor of betrayal threading through her words. My heart broke a little more, seeing her innocence shatter under the weight of reality. Nothing was as simple as it seemed, and here we were, all witnesses to a desperately confusing reunion. Suddenly, driven by instinct, I crossed the room and knelt beside Lily. I wanted to wrap her in comfort and reassurance, to protect her from the looming storm. You didn't forget her, right? I looked up at the man, searching for signs of empathy in his gaze. Did you? But the moment hung uncomfortably while he blinked, words swirling in the depths of his mind. I didn't know she was here, he confessed, running a hand through his hair, revealing the slight tremor in his movements. Why didn't you look for her? She demanded, her small fists clenching at her sides. The vulnerability in her tone cut through me. In that moment, it became painfully clear that the weight of abandonment lived heavily on her shoulders, even at her tender age. Just then, the director stepped forward, her voice steadying like a bomb caressing the wounds of the moment. Mr. Carson, we need to discuss this in private. Her tone implied there was more at stake here than a child's lost father, a neglected connection waiting to resurface. I could feel the air crackling, secrets itching to be uncovered. Lily's eyes searched back and forth between the two adults. In her gaze, I caught a glimmer of something tentative and brave, the courage of a child battling the invisible foes of heartache. You're not leaving again, are you? She asked, and for a fragmented heartbeat, time seemed to pause. Her innocence shattered any pretenses Mr. Carson attempted to maintain. The orphanage told me they were looking out for you. He replied finally, his voice growing steadier, more resolute. I never forgot you, I promise. But I saw the doubt twist in Lily's features, the inability to reconcile his truths with her own lived experiences. In that vulnerable moment, as I knelt beside her, the idea took root, a flickering ember in the bleakness that surrounded us. She needed to believe him. She needed hope. If she could trust him, but then, jumping straight into my mind was the reality I surpassed each child lost many times over. As I rose and gave a supportive squeeze to her shoulder, conflict brewed within me. Did this man truly deserve a second chance? How deeply were his intentions woven into the fabric of past mistakes? Even as I wrestled with these thoughts, something unexpected stirred in the room. I noticed an older boy at the back of the crowd, ages ahead of Lily, who was watching with a peculiar intensity. His expression shifted from confusion to a startling awareness, and I recognized him. It was Sam, one of the more rebellious kids, who often found himself in trouble but had a soft heart underneath. I saw his lips move, whispering something to those nearby. Suddenly, the silence shattered as he piped up, Lily, don't trust him. Hell just hurt you again. The collective gasp echoed against the walls, as gasps turned to murmurs, swirling like a tempest in the tense atmosphere. Blindsided by this sudden outburst, my heart raced as I braced for the reaction. Sam, always brimming with his mix of resilience and defiance, had sparked a clash of loyalties among the children. What do you know about him? Lily shot back, her face aflame with a mix of anger and confusion, eyes darting between Sam and her newfound father. I know he left and didn't look back. Sam countered, conviction burning in his words. And now he just wants to play the hero. As Lily's expression faltered, doubt began to gnaw at the edges of her hope, threatening to drag it into a dark abyss. I could sense the stakes rising. The love and trust of a child hung in the balance. The room buzzed with swirling emotions and sharpened accusations. I stood in the eye of the storm, torn between supporting Lily's fragile heart and facing the truth about a man who represented unanswered questions, unyielding pains, and haunting memories. The cliff of uncertainty loomed ahead, and I felt it too, the pull of hidden histories, waiting just beneath the surface, whispering secrets into already fragile hearts. Time slowed, and within that charged atmosphere, I braced myself for the truth to be unleashed, knowing that no matter what came next, none of us would emerge unchanged. As the echoes of Sam's accusations reverberated within the walls of the orphanage, the previously charged atmosphere morphed into something thicker and more suffocating. I could see Lily's spirit dimming, the flame of hope flickering precariously. Her small form seemed even smaller, trapped in a tempest of betrayal and hurt that had risen with every word spoken. Enough. Mr. Carson's voice boomed, but it was devoid of authority. The plea was swallowed by the room, as if it had lost its power somewhere amid the uncertainty swirling about us. He stood, tall yet visibly shaken, wrestling with his own inadequacies before the children he had all but abandoned. What do you want from me? He asked, his gaze darting among the patrons, searching for understanding where doubt had planted its roots. But all I saw in his eyes was the mask of a man teetering on the edge of desperation. "What do you want, Lily?" He ventured softly, his tone soaked in regret, genuine but laden with the fear of failure. I wanted to shield her from the pangs of indecision painted on his face, but words escaped me as I witnessed this man wrestle with emotions I could almost taste: pain, unease, regret. Lily's voice trembled when she spoke. But she choked on her words, caught between expectations and the fear of disappointment. Then, those watery eyes, usually so resolute, searched mine, desperate for reassurance. I reached out, brushing my fingers gently against her arm in encouragement, anchoring her back from the swirling tempest. "Take your time," I whispered, finding solace in my presence as the world crumbled around her. My throat was tight, and I struggled to swallow back the emotions that bubbled up alongside her own. "What do you want from him?" The room, punctuated by the soft scuffle of feet and hushed whispers, held its breath as Lily gathered herself. "I want you to be my dad. If you say you love me, then you have to prove it." The graveness of her ultimatum hung in the air, of fragile demand layered with desperation. To stand tall in the face of an uncertain past, to trust that he could give her something true, something lasting. Mr. Carson's eyes brimmed with something like grief. "I want that too, Lily, more than anything. But I don't know if I can. I don't know how." His confession was laced with vulnerability, the cracks in his carefully constructed facade starting to widen. It was Sam who pierced the tension next, leaning forward, his voice firm. "You think you can just walk back in and everything will be okay? You can't erase what you did." "I am not asking for forgiveness," Mr. Carson replied, voice heavy, but there was a spark of determination within the clouds of uncertainty. "I'm here to make things right, even if it takes time." In that instant, I witnessed a transformation within him, a flicker of sincerity igniting in the storm of emotions that had engulfed us. But would it be enough? Lily turned her gaze to the floor, wrestling with her own emotions, a child grasping for a semblance of control in a life marked by chaos. It was a battle between her heart and mind, the child inside her seeking connection while the scars of abandonment threatened to surface. Yet, in the midst of the turmoil, an unexpected moment unfolded. A soft, almost imperceptible touch grazed Lily's shoulder. An older girl, Sophie, who often kept to herself, stepped forward. "You have to listen to your heart, Lily," she said, her voice a soothing whisper, brimming with understanding. "You can't let the past choose your future." For a moment, I felt the warmth of kindness ripple through the room, an inviting force reminding us that even in the bleakest moments, connection and hope might still flourish. The energy shifted as Sophie leaned closer to Lily, igniting a rare spark of camaraderie amongst the orphans. Sophie was right. The past doesn't own us, but it often casts long shadows. Lily's tight posture began to loosen as the older girl's words seeped into her heart, and for the first time in what felt like an eternity, light began to peek through the darkness. The conversation hung, poised precariously amidst broken dreams and recycled trials, asking for a third chance, not only from Mr. Carson, but from Lily herself. But perhaps it was too late. With every heartbeat, I felt the shared weight of doubt swell again, threatening to shatter these fragile yet pivotal moments. Just as I thought a new path was forming, chaos returned as the director intervened, interrupting our fragile circle. "Enough of this," she declared, a tone of finality trembling the air, her gaze sweeping indignantly. "Lily, you need to come with me." And just like that, the moment shifted once more, spiraling out of control as Lily instinctively recoiled. "No, I don't want to go," she shouted, the raw emotions spilling forth with shocking ferocity. With an internal crack that seemed monumental, I watched as Mr. Carson reached toward her, struggling to grasp the elusive bond that dangled just before them. "Lily, please." The urge to intervene raced through me, but all I could do was stand witness to the storm that had finally broken around us. The door swung wide, the harsh light pouring in like a cruel reminder of the world outside. Silence wrapped around us like a blanket, but I knew better. This was just the beginning. Secrets hung like heavy clouds, just waiting for a wind to sweep them away. And in that moment of uncertainty, just as Lily's eyes brimmed again, a lingering weight settled in my goodest sense that our lives, intertwined yet frayed, were about to unravel even deeper. The past was about to draw us all backward, whether we were ready to accept it or not. The air inside the orphanage had changed, yet again, morphing into something thicker and more oppressive. I felt it settle over my shoulders like a leaden cloak, the uncertainty prickling at my skin. Lily stood there, a figure of defiance and heartbreak, as the director's authority loomed over her spirit. "Lily, you need to come with me." Ms. Barrett's voice cut through the stunned silence like a shard of glass. Her face was expressionless, but I could sense the current of frustration running beneath her professional exterior. It was clear she had been witness to too many emotional outbursts and turmoil amongst her charges, a well of empathy that, unfortunately, could run D or Y.N.O. "I don't want to go." Lily's cry echoed through the orphanage, relentless and raw, striking a chord that reverberated off the walls. The desperation in her voice held the power to stop time, even if just for a heartbeat, but that heartbeat was lost in the panic that swelled around us. "You can't take me away. Not now. It's for your own good, Lily." Ms. Barrett snapped back, but amidst her authoritative tones, I sensed a faltering. The truth was, they were both vulnerable in their own way. Ms. Barrett standing rigidly for the orphanage's rules, and Lily desperately clinging to the hope of a family restored. Across the room, Mr. Carson flinched at the outburst, feelings etched deeply on his face. Hope intertwined with the bitter taste of regret, and it was clear wanted to reach out to Lily, to draw her back into the warm embrace of possibility. Yet hesitation anchored him, shackling his feet in doubt. "Mr. Carson," I said, stepping forward, my voice trembling as I shared the fragile air with the storm of emotions swirling around us. "What are you going to do? This is your chance to show her that she matters." He met my gaze, and in that fleeting exchange, I saw the reflection of a man torn between a tumultuous past and flickering hope. "I don't want to lose her again," he murmured, the words scarcely a whisper, but they resonated with the weight of his fears. The director's expression hardened. "This is not about you, Mr. Carson. Lily's well-being comes first," she said, her voice clipped and unyielding. But in the echo of her words lay a deeper concern, a fear that memories too painful could surface anew, catching us all in a torrential wave. "Then help her," I implored, my heart racing as the emotional stakes escalated. "Don't just stand and watch. She needs you right now more than ever." "Lily, please listen," Mr. Carson pressed, taking a tentative step toward her. "You're not being taken away. This isn't about punishment. I want to be here for you. I want to fix this. Let me in." That moment, Lily's eyes sparkled with uncertainty, the raw emotion threatening to topple her fragile composure yet again. "You say that now, but what if you leave again? What if you change your mind, like everyone else?" The pain in her voice twisted deep within me, flooding my heart with a fierce, overwhelming desire to protect her from the possibilities of this world. Children shouldn't bear the weight of adult disappointments. Yet here Lily stood, a warrior in a battlefield strewn with broken promises, that I dared to reach out, channeling the strength I wished to offer her. "Lily," I said, "sometimes it takes time for people to figure things out. But the fact that he's here right now, means something. It means he wants to try. Let him." Sophie, still close, nodded encouragingly, her own story nestled in the corner of her eyes. "Yeah, Lily," she added softly. "You need to give yourself the chance to see what could happen. Maybe it could be different this time." Ms. Barrett huffed, clearly unhappy as her authority dwindled under the currents of understanding blossoming in the room. But the air shimmered with hope, frail yet radiating, just waiting for someone to seize it. "Let them talk," I heard myself say, surprising everyone, including myself. "What's the harm in allowing a moment of honesty? Don't you want her to at least know that he is trying?" The murmur of children behind me filled the silence that followed, small voices breaking through the tension. Together they rallied behind Lily, creating a makeshift wall of warmth and encouragement that seemed to bolster her resolve. Yet just as hope fluttered like a timid bird, the door creaked open, revealing a figure that turned our collective attention. A man stepped in, his presence commanding yet unexpected. He was slightly disheveled, breaths heavy with urgency. "Excuse me," he interrupted, glancing between Ms. Barrett and Mr. Carson with unwavering determination. "I need to speak with Mr. Carson. It's urgent." And in an instant, chaos transformed again, confusion swirling like autumn leaves caught in a gust of wind. The presence of this newcomer rippled across the room, a jarring shift that sent questions buzzing like angry bees. Was this man connected to Mr. Carson's past? To his family? "What do you want?" Mr. Carson asked openly, eyes narrowing. The tension thickened, the air crackling with suspended moments as if reality herself held her breath, awaiting the next unfolding chapter. "No time to explain. Just you need to know Lily's safety, he began, his gaze darting to her in a single, thunderous moment. We need to leave. Now. Every heart in the orphanage seemed to beat as one, a resounding echo of disbelief. Who was this man? What did he know? And more pressing, what in the world could threaten Lily now? As the ground beneath us shifted and secrets threatened to resurface, I could only hope that the weight of truth would not shatter the fragile strings weaving us all together. But deep down, I sensed our journeys were about to intertwine, pulling us ever closer to the heart of a hidden tempest. The past was far from over, only just beginning to unfold. The atmosphere in the orphanage ignited with tension, the shock of the stranger's declaration lingering like an electric pulse. Our minds raced with possibilities. Who was this man? And what did he know that could send our little haven spiraling into chaos? The kaleidoscope of emotions that had united us moments before shifted again, pulling each thread tighter as we all braced for the unknown. Mr. Carson's face paled, his eyes bewildered. What do you mean, Lily's safety? His voice dropped, edged with fear, the years of regret clawing at him anew. Don't you dare come in here and threaten her. The man took a step forward, unyielding, his face carved with lines that spoke of determination and distress. Listen to me. There's no time for explanations. I'm here to protect her. There are people looking for her, people who won't stop until they find her. We need to move. Lily's gaze darted around the room, a mix of confusion and fear. The fragile threads that had been woven together in an effort to mend her heart now felt frayed, and I could see terror blooming in her wide eyes. Who are you? She squeaked, her voice trembling. He paused, the weight of the world heavy on his shoulders. My name is Daniel Russo. I'm here because his voice cracked as he met her gaze, revealing sincerity and urgency. Because I care about your safety more than anything else right now. I've seen what could happen if we don't act.ms. Barrett stepped in, her authority flaring back to life, though uncertainty shadowed her brows. You can't just come in here and make demands, Mr. Russo. This is a children's home, not a battlefield. These children are under my protection, but they're not safe. He countered, his voice rising as frustration seeped through. Lily is special. There are people who will try to take her. You don't understand. I could sense the tension unraveling into a tapestry of fear, weaving itself through each heart present. Sophie reached for Lily's hand, intertwining their fingers, a small act of solidarity amidst the storm. Lily, listen to him, she urged gently. Sometimes the people who care the most have to fight the hardest. But why? Lily asked, the fear in her voice undercut with confusion. Why would anyone want to take me? I am just me. Daniel's expression softened, and he knelt down to meet her eye level. Because you're more than just you, Lily. You come from a brave family, and there are those out there who would do anything to harness that power, to use it for themselves. And they don't play fair. My heart sank at his words, realizing the weight they carried. Every child in the orphanage had their own story, their own battles, hidden under layers of innocence. But Lily, with all her quiet strength, seemed to have become the epicenter of a struggle far beyond what any of us understood. Tears pooled in her eyes, and it took everything within me not to reach out and comfort her. I don't want to leave, she whispered, the fight fading from her voice. I don't want to go anywhere. What if it's worse out there? Daniel hesitated, glancing at Mr. Carson as if seeking validation. It could be dangerous, but staying here is not an option either. If they find out she's here, his voice trailed off, leaving a void filled with fear and uncertainty. Please, I urged, a sudden determination driving my words. We have to protect her, whatever that means. If we need to leave, we leave together. We can't let anyone take her away again. She's not just a child, she's family. In that moment, we became movers of an insurmountable weight, hearts aligned as our voices joined in solidarity. Together, I whispered, echoing the silent promise that resided in every one of us. But Lily shook her head, pulling her hand from Sophie's. No, she cried, her voice raw with emotion. What if it's just another lie? What if I've already lost too much? Something deep inside me shattered at the realization that no amount of kindness could undo the scars she bore, scars that led her to doubt even the possibility of safety. Just then, the door swung open with a bang, revealing a second stranger dressed in a tailored suit, his presence imposing and confident. Daniel, he snapped, as if this were a stage play and he was destined to deliver the final blow. You're making a mistake. You need to leave now. The time for running has passed. The room erupted into chaos, voices overlapping in confusion and fear as time splintered into a million directions, a kaleidoscope of alarming options. The universal truth that pervaded the air was clear. The fragile sanctuary we shared was crumbling, and in that moment, I knew our lives were irreversibly intertwined in a storm destined to uproot us all. As the seconds elongated into eternity, I locked eyes with Lily, desperately trying to convey that we would fight for her, no matter the cost. But the weight of the world pressed down heavily, and I couldn't shake the creeping dread that the worst was yet to come. And that was when Lily gasped, something more than fear dawning upon her face, something that felt like recognition. "Wait, Dad," she called out, voice trembling, echoing through the chaos that in one split second, everything shifted to reality brimming with untold stories, unresolved pasts, and the fierce pulse of love that no one could have expected. The room fell silent, the air thick with disbelief. All eyes turned toward Lily as she stood frozen, her small frame vibrating with a mixture of hope and confusion. The unraveling chaos faded into the background, eclipsed by her tentative voice. "Dad." It wasn't just a question, it was a lifeline thrown into the unknown. Her voice trembled, carrying a weight that demanded recognition and response. The man in the suit, his presence cool and authoritative, stepped forward, brows furrowed, seemingly caught off guard, as though he hadn't expected his past to resurface so directly. "Lily?" he replied, each syllable laced with a hesitant disbelief. You shouldn't be here." "Why, Dad? Where have you been?" The innocence in her words cut like a knife, leaving a wound exposed, and I felt her anguish swell through the room. 3 years had passed since the last time she had seen her father, a time marked only by whispered fears and unanswered questions. "Lily, I can explain," he began, but she wouldn't let him finish. She took a moment, inhaling deeply as though fortifying herself against disappointment, before stepping back, her expression morphing from confusion to pure heartbreak. "You left me. You promised you'd come back." Daniel's eyes darted between them, the urgency of the moment pulling at his instincts. "This isn't safe," he murmured, but I could see the cracks forming within him as he was drawn into the tempest of their reunion. "Please," Lily implored, her voice stripping down her defenses. "Just tell me why. I need to know." The suit-clad man shifted on his feet, the veneer of control beginning to crumble under the weight of her gaze. "Lily," he faltered, and for a moment he looked vulnerable, a man marked by regret. "I did everything I could to protect you." "I protect me? By disappearing?" The anguish embedded in her words reverberated through the orphanage. It pricked at the embers of my own heart, igniting memories of loneliness and the ache of abandonment. "It wasn't as simple as that," he said, his voice strained. "I was trying to shield you from people who wanted to hurt you." The collective breath of the room held, and we all exchanged furtive glances, sharing unspoken fears. What had he kept from her? What dangerous world loomed just outside the orphanage's threshold? "I don't believe you," she retorted, voice rising, anger now mingling with her heartache. It felt palpable, the way we all embodied the fury for her betrayal, a bitter taste that stained our collective existence. As tears cascaded down her cheeks, Sophie stepped closer, instinctively reaching out to comfort her, while Mr. Carson remained at a distance, helpless to intervene in this harrowing moment. But Daniel refused to let another second slip by, his protective instinct kicking in. "Listen to me, we need to leave now," he insisted, but the words felt hollow against the raw intensity of the revelation that had just thrust itself into the room. When the man in the suit finally found his voice, it wasn't the answer Lily sought, it was a deflection. "You can't trust him, Lily. He doesn't know what he's talking about." "But you do?" She shot back, the hurt mingling with an unexpected glimmer of defiance. "You did this to me, and now you want to pretend it didn't happen?" Suddenly, the air thickened with an unfamiliar tension, the emotional walls around us echoing with shared heartbreak. I could sense the embers of courage igniting in me, a desire to confront this stranger who'd shattered Lily's world. "Please," I interrupted, feeling the urgency building within me as I stepped closer to Lily, "don't let him manipulate you. You deserve to know the truth, whatever it may be." Daniel shifted, his gaze flickering back to the man in the suit. This sudden authority no longer felt so powerful, not in the face of our collective pursuit of truth. But then Lily, wrapped in turmoil, looked up at her father. "If you love me, you'll tell me everything," she demanded, her voice cracking, and for the first time, I discerned the fear in her heart, not just of the unknown, but the possibility of being abandoned yet again. "I want to, Lily, but nothing." she cried, anger coiling around her fear. You have to choose. Do you want me in your life or not? Her words struck the man like a blow, and I could see him grappling with the reality. He had constructed a reality filled with constraints that seemed to weigh against her small frame. In that charged silence, a new figure emerged from the shadows, a woman with silk-like hair and fierce determination. You should have thought of her before you left, she said, her voice steady and resonant as she stepped forward, closely following the stranger at the door. Lily's eyes widened, as recognition seeped into the contours of her disbelief. Mom? At that moment, the stakes escalated, and every heartbeat carried the weight of an unfinished story, a lifelong conflict born from secrets and undefined love. As the room shifted once more, teetering on the edge of revelation and memory, the conclusion hung heavy in the air, a tangled web of truths now poised to ensnare us all. But just as we reached the precipice, the lights in the orphanage flickered ominously, and from the outside, a car's headlights streaked through the windows like a harbinger of impending chaos. The shadows deepened, and an imminent dread coiled around us all, underscoring that no matter how entwined our lives had become, the danger that awaited us was far from over. The silence that followed Lily's heartbreaking confrontation was thick and suffocating. Each of us held our breath as we waited for what would happen next. The lights in the orphanage flickered again, casting eerie shadows that danced along the walls, amplifying the uncertainty that buzzed in the air. Mom? Lily's voice was almost a whisper now, a fragile thread that hung between them, held by hope yet threatened by doubt. The stranger's gaze was fierce, her body tense, as though bracing against unuttered emotions. Lily, it's me, she said softly, some warmth creeping into her voice despite the gravity of the moment. I came for you. But before any of us could fully digest that revelation, the rumble of an approaching vehicle made us all jump. The sound grew louder, filling every corner of the orphanage with unease. A sleek black car had pulled into the driveway, the kind that glimmered with an authority that adorned the wealth and power of its owner. Suddenly, I felt a gnawing apprehension sink into my gut. It was as if shadows from the past had come to life, clawing at the edges of our reality. Daniel stepped forward, instinctively placing himself between Lily and the door. We need to get out of here, he told her urgently, his voice infused with a protective intensity. Whatever is happening, it's not safe. But I can't just, she began, anger mixing with desperation once more. Lily, he interrupted, his tone sharper. They're coming for you and your father. We need to leave now. Trust me on this. What do you know, Daniel? She demanded, a hint of defiance present in her words. I could see the conflict tearing at her insides, each side battling for dominance. You don't even know my dad. The suit-clad man shifted uncomfortably, his brow furrowed deeper as he looked toward the windows with an air of dread. We don't have much time, he muttered. They've found us before. We can't let them get to you. Lily turned to him, yearning for answers. But her mother stepped in, eyes burning with an intensity that mirrored the chaos inside the room. You're not going anywhere without the truth, she said, her voice steady but laced with an urgency that begged for immediate acknowledgement. You deserve to know why we left, why your father thought he had to protect you this way. Why would you leave me? Lily's voice trembled as she struggled to comprehend the layers of betrayal stitched into their past. What could possibly justify it? Before anyone could respond, Daniel grabbed Lily's shoulder, forcing her gaze to meet his. I know it's not fair, I know. But listen to me. Right now we have to focus on getting you to safety first. We don't have any time to waste. His eyes conveyed a deep-seated sincerity, a plea wrapped in urgency. As if on cue, the headlights of the car outside illuminated the hallway in sharp contrast, revealing the faintest silhouettes of three figures emerging, their forms draped in shadow and menace. The breath caught in my throat. Instinctively, all eyes turned toward the door, uncertainty rippling through us like water disturbed by a stone cast into stillness. Who are they? Lily whispered, the dread wrapping around her like a cold shroud. They're the reason I had to leave, the man in the suit confessed, his voice cracking slightly, betraying strands of anxiety woven into his formidable exterior. They're dangerous, Lily. I thought if I could just disappear, there's no such thing as safety in hiding. Her mother shot back, her face pale but fiercely determined. They'll always find us. We have to confront this together, right here, right now. At this, another voice announced itself from beyond the door, a rich timbre that sent shivers through the air. You've made this too long of a game, Samuel, it called, dripping with contempt. It's time for you and your family to face the consequences of your choices. In that moment, everything shifted. Control was slipping through our fingers like sand. Lily's grip on her father's hand tightened, the combination of fear and desperation igniting a fire within her. "No," she screamed, defiance radiating from her small frame. "I deserve the truth." And just then, the door burst open, revealing a tall man whose presence seemed to swallow the room, a menacing shadow with intent glinting in his eye. Behind him, two others stepped forward, their expressions masked yet glowing with anticipation. "A pretty little family reunion," the first man sneered, confidence radiating off him as he scanned the scene with cold amusement. "But you should know, Lily, not all families are meant to last." Time froze, each heartbeat echoing in my ears as dread coated the room like a thick fog. The urgency to protect Lily surged anew within me, and in that moment, I realized the truth we had been avoiding. There was no escaping the past, and its haunting shadows were here to claim their due. Tension warped the space around us, the air charged with desperation, fear, and the tiniest glimmer of hope. Everything hinged on the fragile alliance we had formed. Uncertainty loomed heavy, casting dark shadows over a frail web of newfound revelations. As the man stepped further inside, I locked eyes with Lily, a silent promise conveyed. We were in this together. But just as I opened my mouth to speak, the lights flickered one last time, plunging us into darkness, and dread loomed larger than ever, a chilling reminder that within every revelation lay the threat of a deeper betrayal yet to unfold. The darkness swallowed us whole. There wasn't even a sliver of light to guide our breaths, our hearts thundering in panic as the man's silhouette moved menacingly within the shadow. Everything I had thought about safety, comfort, and belonging shattered in an instant, replaced by an overwhelming force of dread. "Lily." I heard her mother cry out, the sound breaking through the silence like glass shattering on the floor. "Get behind me." Before us, I could feel the tension tighten, suffocating every ounce of hope we had gathered just moments earlier. It felt as if we were trapped in the depths of a nightmare, unable to fight off the impending darkness closing in. The echoes of our startled breaths filled the air, mingling with the distant sounds of engine growls and heavy footsteps. "Do as she says, Lily," Daniel urged, stepping forward but faltering under the weight of uncertainty. "What do we do?" I whispered, my heart pounding. "We can't let them take her. Stay together," Samuel, Lily's father, said, his voice steadier than I had expected. "They'll handle this." A sense of disbelief washed over me. How could anyone feel brave enough to challenge such menacing shadows, not just for himself, but for the tentative family he had abandoned? Yet there was a flicker of something electric in his tone, a trace of determination stronger than fear. The dark figure chuckled, his voice low and taunting. "You really think you can protect her?" "I will protect my daughter at all costs," Samuel declared, his words strangely affirming, yet trembling with fear. And just like that, the room shifted once more, an unnoticed tension yet again filling the space. In the enveloping darkness, I felt Lily's small fingers weave through mine, searching for comfort and grounding. How was it possible that amidst chaos, she could still find the strength to reach for me? Are they really here for me?" Lily asked, a faint tremor in her voice. "Yes, darling," her mother responded, her hand instinctively clutched in a fist, the lines of her determination sharpening. "But we will keep you safe together." "Who are they?" Lily's voice quivered as she glanced around the room, trying to piece together the fragments of a life she didn't know yet desperately wanted to reclaim. Before any of us could articulate the darkness encroaching upon us, the shadows stepped closer, their features becoming momentarily illuminated by the faint glow of the distant moonlight. I caught a glimpse of the disdainful sneer on the lead man's face that twisted my stomach into knots. "It's sad, really," he drawled, amusement lacing his tone. "A family so desperately clinging to their fabricated existence. But you can't outrun the truth, Lily. You were chosen for a reason." Bitterness filled the air around us, festering like a wound. "What truth?" Lily yelled, the fire within her flickering just slightly. She was grasping at answers desperately. The man smiled, leaning forward as if sharing a long-kept secret. "Your father isn't just a coward who ran. He's a key player in a game that's much larger than you can comprehend. You're about to be pulled into it whether you like it or not." No, I couldn't suppress my impulse any longer. Get away from her. The roar that escaped my throat shocked even me, a primal defense instinct awakening, fueled by the need to protect her at all costs. I stepped forward, The threat of the man beckoning a part of me that had always hesitated to combat the injustices around us. Silence, he hissed, a dangerous glint flashing in his eyes. These decisions aren't yours to make. You're nobody in this story. But he couldn't silence the questions racing through my mind or the urgency brewing deep inside me, igniting a fire of defiance. You can't take her from us. Us. He echoed mockingly. You're all just pawns. Then, in what felt like a twisted convergence of blank moments, the door swung wide open. Light flooded the room, blinding and bright, cutting through the darkness that had suffocated us moments earlier. We squinted against the sudden illumination, our hearts racing faster, our senses heightened. Get away from my daughter, boomed a voice, rich and familiar one I thought I would never hear again. There, framed in the doorway, stood a woman I recognized, her presence almost divinely illuminating the chaos. The warmth emanating from her washed over the room like a savior's embrace, pulling me back from the edge of despair. There was no mistaking her power, fierce determination radiating from every pore as she stepped into the room, her eyes scanning the gathering with a mother's fierce love. Mom? Lily's voice trembled, a tone of hope threading through her despair. Yes, my sweet girl. Her mother's voice wrapped around Lily, a promise of safety amidst roiling terror. I felt the hairs on my arms stand at attention. We had been so easily cornered by a shadowy web spun by forces beyond comprehension. But in that instant, hope flickered a fragile thread, yet resilient enough to wade through consuming chaos. Is this your game? The man shot towards the woman, his fury erupting. This isn't over. Lily's mother stood resolute, unwavering, the glint of steel in her gaze. No, it's only just beginning. And in that moment, I realized the true test lay ahead. We had come unraveling from chaos too fragmented to piece together. The comforts of normal life slipped through our fists like sand, yet a sense of fight ignited within me, a fury forged in love and desperate longing. Just as the shadows seemed to close in again, threatening to envelop us wholly, I felt the stirring of fate reshaping the fabric of our struggles. But as Lily's mother prepared to confront their enemy, I couldn't shake the new paranoia clawing at my mind. What if the truth was worse than we could ever imagine? The battle for our lives, our freedom, and our entwined futures had begun, and in its wake, it would expose the secrets we most feared to uncover. The air hung thick with questions and dread, tension crackling against our skin like static electricity. Shadows loomed just outside the light's grasp, their sinister presence creeping along the edges of our fragile haven. Panic was a living, breathing thing in the room, and I could feel it seeping into my bones, undermining any remnants of courage I had mustered. Lily's mother held her ground, her resolve acting as a barrier. What do you want? She demanded, glaring at the dark figure, her voice firm despite the fear pooling in her eyes. You have no right to threaten my family. As if to mock her, the man stepped closer, the shadows around him pulsating like living entities. Your family? You really think this is just about family? He paused, allowing the silence to thrum with unsaid horrors. This is about legacy, a legacy that you were supposed to inherit, Lily. Do you even understand the power and potential you possess? Lily, still holding my hand tightly, lifted her chin defiantly. I'm not interested in any of that. I just want my normal life back. Her small voice trembled, but the fire danced in her eyes. Is it normal? Is it normal to run from who you are? The man's words dripped with disdain, his sneer a jagged knife that cut through her bravado. You're a part of something much bigger than your little comforts. You can't hide forever. Amidst the growing fear, a small glimmer of defiance tethered me to this surreal confrontation. You're wrong. We won't be part of your sick game, I declared, feeling the weight of every word as though they forged an iron wall between us and the darkness. Lily's mother turned her gaze towards me, a flicker of gratitude sparking in her eyes, which reassured me of my place in this maelstrom. She believed in us, in the hope swirling around our unity. It was a reminder that even in the depths of despair, we were fighting for one another, and that bond was the cornerstone of our strength. What will it be, then? The man challenged, the anger simmering in his tone. You think you can defy fate? You're walking a fine line, young one. He gestured threateningly towards Lily. Stay with us willingly, or watch them suffer the consequences. A chill ran through me. The underlying threat glistened like a blade, and I could see the tentacles of despair creeping back toward us, wanting to strangle the light from our resolve. I glanced at Lily, who watched intently, her small face creased with worry. The very thought of her suffering sent a shudder down my spine, igniting a protective rage within me. Stop. No one will touch her. Samuel, with renewed strength, spoke up, every ounce of authority regained. We are more than pawns. We're a family, and we fight together. This. The man's laughter echoed against the walls, a cruel sound that shattered the last of our dwindling hope. Family? What a quaint notion. You think bonds can protect you from the truth? Innocent little Lily stands at the nexus of two worlds, and no battle cry will change that. Before I could respond, the door behind the woman creaked open wider. A figure slipped through the threshold, silhouetted in the luminous hallway. My heart raced as recognition washed over me. It was Sophia, the woman who had taken me in when I was lost, struggling to find a place to belong. Her expression was grave, carrying with her the weight of unspoken truths that hung in the air like fog. Please, there's no need for violence. Her voice held a postured calmness that hinted at the depth of the abyss we faced. We can talk this through. There's more here than anyone knows. Sophia, I gasped, seeing her not just as a friend but a guide into the chaos swirling around us. In that moment, her eyes met mine and the understanding passed between us, binding our tomorrows to the decisions we made today. But the man kept his focus on her. You think you can manipulate this? You are just as lost as they are. The words hung heavy. I could see the flicker of uncertainty pass through Sophia's demeanor, a crack in her otherwise unwavering presence. The darkness outside seemed to swell, the shadows gathering. Eager to extinguish the flickering flame of hope we had barely reignited, that very moment, a loud crash came from behind, peeling the eyes of terror away from the confrontation at hand. My heart raced as the sound echoed, resonating deeply like an omen, a warning. What was that? Daniel whispered, panic threading his voice. The man's expression shifted, a glimmer of fear replacing his arrogance. They shouldn't be here. He stepped backward, plotting his next move as the atmosphere evolved from tense confrontation to imminent danger. Sophia turned towards me, eyes wide with fear. We need to leave now. It isn't safe. I looked at Lily, who appeared torn between the emerging chaos and the lasting affection she held for her family. Are you ready to fight for your life, Lily? I asked, my voice steady in contrast to the shifting tide of chaos. Her small frame quaked, but resolved. Yes, I will. But just as I prepared to give us all the directive to run, another crash thundered behind us, causing the floor beneath us to vibrate. The weight of uncertainty pressed against my chest, and an unshakable sense of dread whispered that there were secrets, layers beneath layers, which could either bind or destroy us all. Together, we rallied, our collective energy aimed to storm against the menacing tide threatening to engulf us. Yet in that moment, a shocking betrayal surged within my chest, prompting me to wonder who else could emerge from the darkness, shifting the balance unexpectedly. As the door swung ominously backward, light illuminating the way to freedom, I caught sight of a shadow spilling into the doorway, someone familiar stepping into the chaos, silencing everything I thought I knew. Dad? The word escaped Lily's lips, fragile yet resolute. As her eyes widened in recognition, her heart opened up to something entirely unexpected. And just like that, as if the world shifted beneath our feet, the weight of uncertainty slammed down harder than ever, pinching every breath of innocence we had left. The battlefield ahead stretched infinitely, and new lines were drawn in a fight that promised to upend everything we thought we understood. The chaos in the orphanage erupted, a cacophony of emotions swirling around like gusts of wind that bite at your skin. For a moment, time itself felt suspended, entrapped in the seismic shifts sweeping through every heart present. I could feel the pulses of fear and uncertainty, a kind of storm no one was prepared for. Dad? The innocence in Lily's voice struck my heart like a bell tolling for the dead, echoing across the room, filled with jagged tension. She was staring at the figure in the doorway, her eyes wide, a frantic mix of hope and fear swirling in those young depths. All of us stood immobile for a beat that stretched into eternity, anticipation bewildering the air. Lily, the man who stepped forward, was no mere shadow cast by the light. He was her father, the same expression I had seen twisted with regret rumored through every story. Clad in the power of unresolved emotions, he stood there like an immovable pillar, covered in layers of their shared past. His voice trembled, caught in the web of their fractured history. I've been looking for you. No. Lily's reaction was visceral, her small form trembling with anger and confusion. You left me. I thought you didn't care. The words swept through the room, laden with the kind of hurt that cuts deep, uncaring of the man-made facades that swirl about a family. Please, let me explain, he implored, stepping closer, but Lily recoiled, shielding her heart from another potential betrayal. I had to protect you from them. From all of this. From what? From truth? From love? From everything that you claimed meant something? In that moment, chaos faded into the background, and the truth cascaded down like heavy rain. I could feel my pulse quicken, not just for her, but for everyone whose life spun around this dilemma. We stood as witnesses to histories filled with scars, regrets, and an unreasonable amount of love simmering beneath the surface. Stay where you are. The stranger, the man who had come with shadows as his allies, raised a hand, interrupting their reunion with venomous disdain. Family is just a concept, and they mean nothing in the grand scheme of what's at stake. Flashes of defiance ignited between the walls, lighting up those weary hearts rattling with hope and resentment. As I instinctively moved closer to Lily, an unfamiliar sound engulfed us, a deep rumble that signaled something imminent. They're coming, Daniel hissed as adrenaline propelled us to action. We don't have time, no? Lily cried, her innocence still untouched by the horrific truth surrounding them. I want leave without knowing. I want to hear it from him. Her courage struck me. It was raw, and it reinforced our desperate need for clarity amidst the ashes of their broken past. Lily, you need to trust me. I spoke urgently, sensing the tension tightening across the room. We can face this together, but we have to keep moving. They want you for a reason. Yet, it was her father's eyes haunted, regretful that conveyed the depth of burdens he carried. There are things you don't understand, he murmured, stepping closer, resonating in Lily's defiance. It's more than just us, more than just family, he said, raw determination weaving through his words. You need to know about the legacy that follows you, and it's bigger than any of us. Lily hesitated, confusion washing over her. I could sense her fragile flame flicker, torn between anger and the longing for connection. If you love me, she pressed through trembling lips, you won't hide it from me anymore. I love you, Lily, he declared, desperation layered within his fevered intent. I never wanted to leave you. As the shadows of the room closed in, enveloped by urgency that drew the line of decision, I felt my heart pound anew. A cobweb of connection enveloped us all, fragile yet suffocating in its complexity. The world outside our little sanctuary pressed closer, and from behind the silhouette of confusion, the man stepped towards us again. Now, you really think this is a way to protect her? He moved with confidence, intent on snapping this thread binding them painfully, before I could respond. The door swung open wider, revealing the rising dread of approaching consequences, 3 ominous figures poised outside like harbingers of fate. My heart in my throat, I stumbled back for a brief moment, preparing to shield Lily from yet another blow of betrayal and sorrow. Let's go. We have to move, Daniel bellowed, pushing the urgency through, gathering a courageous pulse to carry us forward. The truth might shatter our world, but it's nothing compared to the devastation they bring. Lily stood at the crux of decision, a tiny warrior battling down the fear bolstered by turbulent emotions. I reached for her hand, certainty rising to overpower the chaos swirling around us. We move together, Lily, I said, heart beating fervently against the uncertainty of our futures. We fight together. Together. The echo of unity charged the air, radiating strength, determination, and unwavering loyalty. Samuel nodded, words tightly contained as if holding back the flood of emotions that threatened to overtake him. We will protect you, he affirmed, come what may. And with that, with our hearts entwined through the unresolved history, the bond forged in love and scars, we stepped into the unknown, moving as one despite the twisting fates that would ever haunt us, holding on to the silent promise of what may come. The shadows trembled beneath the weight of our journey, as we ventured forth, daring to confront the past that had haunted us, ready to fight for the truth we ultimately deserved. In the distant chaos of the world awaiting us, I whispered a vow still held deep within. In that moment, the fiercest truth we could carry was, we were not defined by our circumstances or extraneous legacies. We were families torn apart, but we would reclaim our spirits. And with those thoughts forever etched, soft warmth flowed through meth. Real journey had only just begun. And somewhere in that burgeoning hope, I realized, families aren't forged solely from bloodlines, but from the courage to embrace the truth, replace shadows with light, and love each other fiercely enough to overcome anything that comes our way. Together, we rise, I whispered, eyes sweeping across Lily and each brave soul beside me. The fight was just beginning.